Hey y'all, and welcome to Trials to Triumphs. I'm Ashley Blaine Featherston Jenkins, but you can call me ABFJ. This week, my sister, Emmy-winning writer, producer, and actor Lena Waithe talks to me about growth, building community, and why representation matters. I met Lena over a decade ago when I first moved to LA. We were both in a similar place and making moves to get to the next level in our careers. While the Lena I met was focused on pursuing TV writing, God had a much bigger plan for her life.
I'm grateful to represent a certain quadrant or group of Black women that oftentimes don't get represented or we aren't seen. So that's the thing. I didn't want to be on camera because that wasn't like something I needed. But then I realized, it was needed though. That was needed. I didn't know that I needed to be on screen.
Sister, welcome to the pod.
Well, why do you always call it the pod?
Doesn't everyone call their podcast the pod? Is it just me?
I think it's just you.
I mean, it is. You know, but it's funny you say that. I do always call it the pod. People are like, what are you doing? I'm like, oh, I have this to do for the pod or this. I mean, saying trials to triumphs every time who's saying that?
Like that, we like my podcast. But that's what we shorten things.
Yeah. Well, you know, I'm a shortener for sure.
Yeah.
Welcome. We're happy to have you.
Thank you.
I love you. You're my sister. I've known you for 4,000 kajillion bazillion years.
Okay. You're about to be accurate and say how long.
Well, no, because that's my next question. So we start the podcast, all episodes. I like to ask my guest, how did we meet? So why don't you tell the story of how and when we met? If you're, I wonder if we have the same story, actually.
Hold on. I'm trying to think. Was it a table read?
Nope. I remember it so vividly. It's impossible to forget.
Oh, shut up. I'm trying to think but somebody introduced us though. Is that correct? Or am I making that up?
Nope. You introduced yourself to me. Yep. We were at a mutual.
See, you're trying to trick me. Okay, so we were at a mutual friend. Whose house was it?
No, it was a Christmas party. It wasn't at a house though. It was like a gathering, like at a space, a lounge or something like that.
What?
Lena, would you like for me to just tell the story?
Because now you threw me at lounge. I thought we met at somebody's house.
No.
Someone.
Yes, we did technically meet through somebody. So it was the winter of 20.
Not you saying the winter of.
It was the winter of 20. I moved here in 2010, and Cody Elaine Brooks, shout out to Founders Day, who is my pro-fight, my AKA pro-fight. You just had lunch with her?
Yes.
That's so crazy.
What?
Yeah. Okay, well, shout out to Cody. Love Cody. You already knew Cody. I knew Cody, obviously, from Howard and AKA Life. She was having a holiday party. What for exactly? Maybe it just was to get people together. Maybe it was a mixer. I don't know. It was 13. This was 13 years ago. And I remember you came up to me. I'm just like, I'm 23 years old. I was probably 23 at this point. I'm just hanging, whatever. And you walked up to me and were like, what's your name? And I was like, my name's Ashley Blaine Featherston. You were like, oh, you're a 3-namer. And I was like, I am. And you were like, has anyone ever told you look like Kelly Rowland? And I was like, yes, actually, I've gotten that many times. And you were like, that's what's up. And we just started talking for the rest of the night. And truly, we have been friends ever since. I wish it were more of a story. I wish something crazy happened. But I feel like from that day, we exchanged numbers. And we were instantly sisters, and we really never looked back. But it was a random encounter at an event that Cody had in probably 13 years ago.
That's some God stuff happening.
Yeah.
The fact I had lunch with Cody today.
That is so crazy. That's insane. I mean, but that's very connected.
That's crazy. She'll love that.
Yeah.
Wow. how we met. Okay. I'm not surprised by that interaction.
No,
Yeah,
it's very Lena and it's very Ashley. Like, I mean, it's very, but
Ashley's
I
great.
remember at that time, I think what's so cool when I look back, I mean, again, it's been 13 years, whatever, but when I look back in so many ways, we are exactly the same people. We were, I think what connected us at that time, even not really knowing each other, was just we knew we were dreamers in the same way. We knew that we were Black folks trying to uplift Black people in the same way. We knew that we were people that were relentlessly going after our dreams. And I think that there's this common misconception that everybody in LA has kind of the same goal, right? I think everyone here wants to achieve something, but what's
Mhm.
behind wanting to achieve something or how people are going about achieving something is different. And I think
Yeah.
that's how you find your people, right? You find your people that are like, for a lack of a better term, about it in the same way. And you and I were and are in the same way. And I think, that kind of just connected us. I want to start with some icebreaker questions just for some fun.
What do you want?
What's a major lesson you would say that you've learned recently? I feel like we learn lessons all the time, sometimes big, sometimes small. But if you really think about it, lessons come often. So I want to know what's a recent one that you're clocking in your brain and keeping for future.
That being a good person doesn't prevent bad things from happening to you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah,
Okay?
that's life. Life is going life.
I don't think people think sometimes if you're a good person, you have this interesting contract with the universe. Like if I do good things, if I do the right things, if I say the right things, if I be, good at all the things, then only good will come.
Mm,
Like, no, nobody has that contract.
yeah.
And so, uh, I just read this book, Think You'll Be Happy, Nicole Avon. I
It's great. Yeah.
recommend people checking that out. I think, and that might be, like just read it. So I think that's something that, you know,
Hmm.
um, there's a lot of lessons in there, obviously, and hard lessons. But, when I reached out to her, I said, this is a really, really beautiful way of looking at the world in terms of,
Yeah.
you know, it doesn't matter how much good you do in the world. You have to, I don't want to say always be prepared because you can't be, that's also bad things never happen at a good time,
Hmm. Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know? But then also, and a big thing for me, like, it's so interesting because Cree Summer, and I hung out, as people know, but she said to me, her religion is being present.
Mm.
Like that is like if you're present, it solves all things. That's so great. And I was like, for me, a big word that comes up is balance. In
Mm.
that I'm a big believer in if things are going really good for a while, you know, you may stumble soon. And if you've been like in such a dark time for a long time,
Mm.
light's gonna be around the corner.
Yeah.
He is just like I literally like I was telling somebody with every, end of New Year's, New Year's Eve or whatever, which we just recently come from like New Year's Day and stuff. There's always this thing people, I mean, can go in like about what they learned over the years and that year and all that kind of stuff. But for me, I'm always finding a new way to say some good stuff happened, some bad stuff happened. Looking
Hmm.
forward to it. It's like I literally just find new ways to say the same thing because that's
Yeah.
what. And some people may say, "Oh no, this year was hard, so many bad things." But then it's like, but if you really ask that person and say, "Okay, but what are some cool things that happen? What are some good memories?" They're gonna have some things. They're gonna say, "Well, this did happen, and I did get that, and da da da." And they may say, "Well, it wasn't equal. It wasn't balanced." Maybe, but you can't say there wasn't some joy or some good in the year.
Hmm. Yeah.
You got to acknowledge that, as well as you acknowledge some of the dark times.
Yeah. I think ultimately that's the goal of living a harmonious life is
Mm-hmm.
understanding and not only understanding, Lena, but appreciating the balance. I think
Mhm.
that you can understand that there's like the yin and the yang, right? Or there's the good and the bad, there's the dark and the light. But if you can't appreciate it, just knowing it isn't enough. You have to know, like, the only way I can get through the hard times is just what you said. It's knowing that trouble don't last always. It can't. So there's got to be something on the other side of this. I'm in a tough season. Seasons change. They change every year. The leaves are not always falling. Sometimes, it's spring and things are blooming. Like, so I've honestly been like, really being really mindful of nature, because nature reminds you of what's happening in your own life. You have to, if you just look outside, you're like, oh, but there's going to be a time that there's like flowers back on this bush. That's really cool. If that can happen to this bush, it can happen to me too.
And I think that to me is what, like, when Chris said present,
Mm.
I say, okay, for me, I think it's balance. Like, and it's about embracing it, understanding it, and Young Pueblo has a really good, like, at least I don't know if he says this in the book, The Way Forward, but he talks about not allowing life to toss you around, but just know that life is going to happen around you. Because that's the thing, is if you really talk to a lot of people, sometimes you can feel them being like, yo, like, a big popular phrase now is life is lifing.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, how you do? Life is lifing. And you hear it a lot. And you know what it means. Okay. And I think that that's kind of what I'm saying is, like, life is always going to life.
Always.
It's just a matter of, like, where do that goes back to Nicole. Think you'll be happy.
Yeah.
Or when you're in it, try to, you hate the idea of, like, try to be positive when things are bad. I'm not necessarily a believer in that. It's okay to be like, what? It's a little tough right now and it sucks and I hate it and I don't really know what the lesson is in it. But then when you come out of it and you step back from it, then you kind of go, okay, you know what? All right. I'm kind of glad I went through that, because I'm a new person because of it, different person because of it. It doesn't always mean better either. Be different.
Yeah. Okay, Lena, take me to the beginning. What did Chicago give you?
I think Chicago really gave me, I think, my personality, to be honest, in terms of, because Chicago is very much a city, obviously, but it also feels like in some place like a small town. And so I think when it has, and also depending on where you are, if you're downtown Chicago, you can really feel, it's almost like, oh man, the cars zipping by and a lot of people and all that kind of stuff. But if you then venture to, like, the south side of Chicago, or, like, especially the neighborhood in which I grew up, where it's just like, rows of houses on a small street, it can just really feel like a community. And I think but I'm both sides of that. I'm very much a city person, and that I move fast, I talk fast, I'm, quick. But then I also am a person that likes to build community, not like we were talking about in the beginning, because that's what my neighborhood was. It was very much a community. And so, because I grew up in my grandmother's house, and a lot of people in that block were elderly Black folks who had adult children whose children were living with them. And so there was a few houses. I wasn't the only kid living in a 3-generational house. There's a lot of kids on the block like that. And so we kind of have this old school upbringing a little bit, because we got our grandparents in there, teaching us, and then our parents who are a little bit less strict. And then we are trying to find our own voices. And so I think that really, being in Chicago in that way, and also going to college there, went to Columbia College in Chicago, which is located really in the downtown area of Chicago. I kind of got that feel too of being in the city, and then going back to my small community again. So I think that's, and I think even my work is a reflection of that, is that you can feel the community in it, but you can also hopefully feel sometimes the fast pacedness of the work too, which is the
very
city.
much so. And I love that you highlighted that you grew up in a multi-generational home. That was very much a thing of that time. You know what I mean? Like, a lot of families were doing that. And even before that, like, I know my mom talks a lot about, like, her family growing up, they all had this big, like, compound in North Carolina called Happy Hill. And it was like aunts and cousins and grandparents and whatever. They all lived together and they all worked together and went to school together, whatever. And to me, that is so different from how I grew up. But for my mom, it was very much so normal for her growing up. But I want to know, growing up in the same house as your mother and your grandmother, looking back, what would you say is a lesson or like some really beautiful wisdom that your grandmother imparted upon you as a young child?
So funny because she wasn't that kind of grandmother. She was not that poetic. It's a little bit more blunt, and I think that's why I have this personality. Like, I'm trying to think, what was she?
Or something you just got from her. Like, I mean, it could even be that.
Well, I think it was sort of, she was a grandmother that smoked cigarettes and drank highballs, as she would call them, which is like rum and coke, but she called them highballs.
Yes.
And
Okay.
sat in the bed and like watched television. She would watch her stories, like Lifetime movies, judge shows. She loved judge shows and stuff. So she really was a person from Arkansas, moved to Chicago when she was 17, and traveled a ton, had 3 kids, and did not let that stop her from living her life. And but could cook like crazy, and just she was just very much. I think I get a lot of my personality from her too, in terms of she could be nosy but minded her own business.
Yeah.
And very much liked being in her house. So being in her home. She died in her home, which is important. Like she did not, so she was very much about, because she, raised 3 kids, raised 3 kids and 2 grandkids in that house. And even like, on the awning on one of the, I had the H on it for Hall, the Hall family. Like it was really, because she was a Hall and married a Hall, not that kind of.
Oh, wow. Interesting. Cool. She got to keep it.
Yeah. So it was Tressie K. Hall. So she wouldn't like say, granddaughter, when you this and that. She would just, her big thing was like, do not try hard drugs.
That's a good one.
Right. So it's stuff like that. Like, don't try hard. If somebody ever hits you, leave and don't come back. Like, just, it was like very matter of fact advice. Wash behind your ears. Such a weird, like I was getting like a soap like tattoo back here as like a her. So those are the things. Wash behind your ears. Don't try hard drugs. And somebody hits you once, leave and don't come back. And it was that kind of stuff. Like, and so advice was like, okay, thank you. But I mean, like 8.
Yeah.
So it's also, my mom was like, what? Like she took me to go see A Time to Kill. I'm like 7. My mom was like,
yes, wow,
the ideal. And so of course I wake up and I have a nightmare. Of course. Like, I was like, she thinks the KKK is trying to come get her. I'm like, because we went to go see A Time to Kill. I said, you took her to go see A Time to Kill. I just will never forget, like, that's also the thing about having a grandparent watch a young kid. They're sort of like, come on, we're going to see this movie, Mississippi Burning.
You doing what I'm doing. Yeah.
It was like Mississippi Burning, A Time to Kill.
Wow.
Seeing things like at 9, my mom was like, it's too, like, she's going to not be able to. So that's the interesting thing. Like, I really was exposed to these movies because my grandmother, who you would think, like, you lived it, like, why you want to, but I don't know. She just was like, look, it happened. That's what was going on. And there's a reason I moved to Chicago when I was 17. So.
Okay.
What a long-winded answer, but that's kind of
no. I get that. That makes a lot of sense, and a lot of what you described explains you a lot more. Actually, for me, it does. Actually, I mean, if this woman I'm talking to right now was watching A Time to Kill at 9, then you make perfect sense now. I mean, it all makes perfect sense. It all tracks. It all tracks.
Samuel Jackson.
Yeah, shout out to Sam. Yeah. Okay, talk to me about your mom. Looking back at your childhood, especially, what are you most grateful for that your mom, just from your relationship with your mom?
I mean, the big thing for me is the schools that I went to.
Mm.
Turner Jewel
That's big.
There's also a preschool too that I went to that also was really amazing and great. I know people are like, what? But it was like this very specific like preschool that was like in this building that I can't remember the name of right now, but it was like a very special place for me to be a kid. But then Turner Drew Academy, which was like a magnet school or something, that she found, and we went there, and it was really cool because we had um, there were really great black teachers there, which was really important and really cool, and just a really great student body and just great faculty. And then I went to Chute Middle School, Chute Middle School in Evanston, which is also super interesting to me because I never even heard of that. And it was like, oh, sixth, seventh, and eighth grade, and so it was just really formative time, and to be at that school was really great teachers there as well. And then obviously I transferred over into Evanston Township High School, which was like a game changer, and like me being there, just being exposed to so many different types of kids, like not just ethnic backgrounds, but like economic backgrounds as well. And
Mm.
so I was exposed to kids that had more than I did, but and not in a way that made me feel less than. It was, but also a big thing for me to understand that. Oh, so you got two parents at home? Okay, interesting. It was sort of
Hmm.
like I kind of realized, oh, okay, got it. I'm different in certain ways and things like that, but not less than anybody. It's just this is what my family looks like. My family consists of my mother, myself, my older sister, and you got mom and dad, and two siblings. Okay, got it. And it was just more like, oh, we're different in that way, not better or worse. We just have different experiences, but we can still be friends and get to know each other
Hmm.
and learn from each other, which is cool. And then she was supportive of me. She kind of wanted me to leave the city to go to college. I wasn't really ready for that. But I really wanted to go to Columbia College because you could major in television and writing,
Mm.
and stuff like that. And so that was really interesting to me, which I'm really grateful for that she supported that, because then I did the semester in LA, which got me to Los Angeles in 2005 and then in 2006, and I
Mm.
stayed. So a big thing was like it was such a specific journey, in terms of the schools that I was at, that really exposed me to different kids. And I think it's a big reason why I'm able to maneuver in the business. And it's interesting because me vibing with Aziz Ansari is something that is not like it's not odd to me. It's not weird. It's like, yeah, what's up, man? Like, and people just feel like just believe in us as friends because like we just click, because I don't see a lot of difference in how I see the things we have in common.
Yeah.
Um, which is what I think a big reason people kind of believe us as friends. We are friends. I mean, we just texted, but we played friends, but it wasn't hard to play because I, I just being around people with different cultures and different ethnic backgrounds was never, you know, it was just very normal, very natural to me.
Yeah. I think that's a very important, I think a big part of a part of the role of a parent is a focus on education and building your child's community. And it's important because those formative years are so important for shaping who they will be as an adult. So I think because of, like what you said, because of the schools that your mom was intentional in making sure you went to, and knowing the types of people you would be around and diversifying your community, it made it so that you could come to a place like Los Angeles where everybody's out here, and be able to vibe with people on your similarities and not just focus on your differences. Because I think ultimately, if you're only thinking about differences, then you're moving away from people, not toward people. So
Right.
you were
And also,
definitely, yeah.
yeah, I would say too. In my neighborhood, it was all black. That is just the truth. It was
Mm-hmm.
all black. So, watching Rainbow Push Coalition on Saturday, like it was just like it was very that. And so I think she also was like, I need to diversify your experience because it was, yeah, I didn't really see white people. That's just the
Yeah.
truth. Um, and I think she was picking up on that a little bit. Or if I did see them, they were like in A Time to Kill. And so I think it was just like you need to, you're in a beautiful black bubble, if we will, and that was great. But I think she also was like, you gotta, kind of get out in the world a little bit.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I look to you as someone who I mean, you are community. So much of my community is community that you introduced me to. And I was going to say it's a passion of yours, but then I was like, but it kind of is though. I do think a passion of yours is like building community and connecting good people and seeing what can come from that and helping to support that in any ways you can. And I think that it shows, you know what I mean? But yeah, at first I was like, passion seems, but no, I do think it's something that like is part, it fuels you in a way, and it's genuine. It's so genuine. Like from the moment we met, you were trying to introduce me to people. I had just met you and you were like, you got to know this person. You got to know that person. I think this person would be a great friend for you. And look at us now, you know?
I know, it's kind of crazy. I mean, I think, and I think I get that from our grandmother as well. She would host, well, everybody would take turns, but they would do block club meetings and stuff.
You said block? What's that?
Block.
Oh, like on the block, like the block. Oh, got it. Okay.
And so that, and so she would, I remember her hosting those or hosting poker nights. She was a big poker player. She would host poker nights at the house. And so it was, I think I definitely saw that a lot, like her letting people come to the crib, play cards, to eat food, to commune. And so I think it was just very, obviously I'm a young kid, like kind of, witnessing, like kind of watching. And I think so it's really cool to be an adult now and to do that in my own way.
I know, but we've always done it. Like we've always done it. And it's amazing. Like, I'm just really grateful for it.
No, me too.
Leans, I want to ask you. Okay, so when I met you, you were like, I remember you you were in the season of your career where you just wanted to be a staff writer, which is like, looking back, it's like.
Did I have a career or
You had a career. You were writing, I think, you were on How to Rock.
I was? Okay.
Or you were about to be, one of the two.
Okay, fair.
But I remember, for example, when you first got Bones, and I remember we visited your office and we were like, Lita.
Nkechi today.
You saw Nkechi today too?
Well, via Zoom.
What? That's crazy. Yeah. Well, shout out to Nkechi. Like, wow.
Creator found.
A creator found, All-American, all of the things. All the things that you like, she's created. But I remember us visiting you on the lot and you being like, yeah, y'all, like, look at my office. And we're like, whoa, you have an office. It was like a cute, like the tiniest office ever.
Wow, I didn't think I even wrote in there. It's nuts.
But you worked really hard to get there. But what I want to ask you about is, because I know that you're on all the podcasts, all the shows, talking about the whole rundown of your career, which is beautiful and amazing. But what I want to know is, like, I think a lot of people feel like, I know I felt like this, like you're in a box. I don't feel like this now because I've worked through it, but I think a lot of times artists feel like they're boxed in. They pick a thing that they want to do, they're going after it, and they feel like once they might maybe get some sort of success in it, that they're boxed in. But for you, what I know we saw happen is that you had a goal of being a writer. You really, and you wanted to be a damn good writer. And of course, you wanted to eventually have your own shows. But what's happened is that your career has bloomed into so many different things that are for sure outside of the box that you maybe initially put yourself in, and we're going to be happy being in too, might I add. You would have been happy, I think, just totally like writing, creating stuff, and going about your day. So what I want to know is, what does it actually feel like to have these opportunities that are coming to you that aren't necessarily what you intended, but that maybe instinctively you knew that you should go after, and ultimately it's transformed your life and your career? I mean, we could talk about Master of None. Like, you had no intentions of acting. Like, I remember you being like, guys, I don't do this. And we were like, yeah, Lena, we know. What are you going to do? You're like, I mean, I guess I'm going to give it a shot. So just talk to me about that season in your life. And then ultimately, now that you're years into being the multi hyphenate, what does it feel like now?
I think it's very true. I did not visualize myself being on camera. That's just not something I thought about. Yeah, but I really wanted to be a really strong television writer, but God works in God's way and has a way of, showing you the God vision that you don't have. So
Hmm.
um, I my love of TV uh, I think got me there because I done a pilot presentation, 20s, which you recall, you were in that. And so uh, Allison Jones, the casting director, saw that. And people like wrote about it and it gotten some buzz and stuff. And so I was trying to do what Justin did with Your White People with that trailer, to try to get my thing going, which Justin directed the 20s pilot presentation as
Hmm.
well. Justin Simeon. Shout out to Justin. So
Yes.
I put that out there, and Allison Jones saw it, and she's asked to meet me, and I didn't really understand why, but she was like, "Yo, talk to me about this. Like, what is this?" And I said, "It's just this show idea I have, kind of loosely based on me." And she's like, "Okay, that's interesting." And we talked about TV. She is an iconic casting director. Like she
Yes.
cast Bridesmaids, Veep. Like I'm just Freaks and Geeks. Like she's began many a career, and I'm honored to be in that camp. But we just talked about television, and that was it. I didn't really think anything of it. And then fast forward, she's casting this show for Aziz that doesn't even have a title, and and he says, "Look, before I audition people, can you just send me interesting people to talk to?
Hmm.
And then we'll talk, and then based on that, I'll see if I want to read with them." And it is by the grace of God. Allison Jones said, "Oh, you should meet Lena Waithe. She's interesting." And I went, and then I got a call to go meet Aziz Ansari, and I'm like, oh great, maybe I'm writing for it, but it's kind of office. So then I go, I sit down, and I talk to Aziz Ansari, and I talk to Alan Yang in Aziz's living room. I'll never forget it. And I just was just myself, and
Hmm.
I think which I've been doing writing staff meetings for so long. That's kind of how I treated it, even though they hadn't read a sample, they would just want to know who I was. And so I was like, all right. So I was talking to them. Had just fallen in love, and I was talking to them about that, and I was just unapologetically myself,
Yeah.
and walked out the house, and of course I got a call that Aziz wanted to read with me, and then I went to Allison Jones's office and read with him, and it was instant. You could feel like something
Hmm.
was happening. And we just were like, okay. And they did the thing you're not supposed to do. Like they were laughing at my ad libs and enjoying it too much. Because I was like, they not supposed to really give away like if they like you or not, or they just like, this is great. And then and then I got to test,
Hmm.
um, which was crazy. And they did something really cool was that I always give Aziz and Alan this credit. They had me test with someone who was a white straight girl.
Hmm.
And it was kind of, to me, my thought process was, if this is 1998 and this is an NBC pilot, the white straight girl gets the part. But
Hmm.
this is Netflix. It's a new day. The character of Denise was supposed to be a love interest for Aziz eventually, a friend that becomes a love interest. And so he was like, but this is so much more interesting, you
Yeah.
know? Okay. He's like, yeah, so you want to play the character? Because the character was still straight when I was reading it. So I was having fun with that. And he was like, let's just make her lesbian. I'm like, that would be.
I'd appreciate that, you guys. Thank you so much.
And he's like, okay. And we didn't even know in that conversation that, we would ultimately really change our lives, for the second season of the show.
Yeah.
When they casually asked me in the writer's room, so how'd you come out? What was that like? I was like, well, and then here comes my grandmother, here comes my mother. And we
Mm.
talked about what that was like coming out to them. Even though I didn't come out to my grandmother technically, came out to my mom, but my mom and her friends, what I'm saying? And which was also
Yes.
real, like, talking to my mom's friends and stuff. And, and then thus the Thanksgiving episode was born, which it just was such a whirlwind and such a beautiful thing. And I think that's why, to me, I'm so excited when I see about the community again, to see Quinta come do her thing, to see Io come do her thing. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
I remember those times where you're just like, yo, yes, I'm a voice. I'm here. I'm unique. I'm different. I'm not like every, and Issa also want to give Issa some love, like showing people how different, think about like Issa Rae, Quinta Brunson, myself, Io's amazing. Like, like how we're all different Black girls, and that's what I'm so excited about is people, and the list goes on and on. You're different, and Nia Jervier, Courtney Sauls, like we all have something different to offer.
Yeah.
And I'm grateful to represent a certain quadrant or group of Black women that oftentimes don't get represented or we aren't seen. So that's the thing. I didn't want to be on camera because that wasn't like something I needed, but then I realized, it was needed though.
Mm-hmm.
That was needed. I didn't know that I needed to be on screen. People always ask you, Netflix, strong Black lead. When's the first time you saw yourself on TV? When I saw myself on
TV. Yeah. And like you said, it was a part of the bigger God dream. God said, you have to be here. I need you to be here. And this is your in to get here. It's not the end you might have thought it was going to be. You didn't submit a writing sample. No, you're testing and auditioning with homegirl, the white girl that was opposite you, whatever. But I'm taking you somewhere so that you can keep doing what I sent you here to do.
And what's crazy is like, I was nervous about it because I sold The Chi at the time, but they waited for me to go do the show and come back because David Nevins was very smart. He was like, well, look, go do the show, get famous. And then he already knew he wanted to do The Chi, but it was just, they had to wait, had to go do that, and then come back and do the show. But I just knew. I was like, I don't know what this is. Obviously, it's very early days for Netflix. Aziz, but I loved him on Parks and Rec. And, him and Alan weren't tried and true yet. This was their first time doing this, but I just really believed in it. And I was like, yeah, I'm game. Let's go. And it was it still continues to be one of the great, 3 seasons. Just pure creativity. And obviously really, Aziz really handed me the ball season 3. And it's just been such a wonderful ride.
Lena, what has been your takeaway from our conversation today?
Is that it's kind of obvious I am who I am because of my upbringing, basically, which is like, and I mean in terms of not just the city, but I think my grandmother, my mom, the schools, I want to give the schools credit, teachers as well, like that, even though it seems obvious, because you're like, how did you become this? It's like, I am a product of the people that reared me.
Definitely. My takeaway from our conversation today is that it's really cool to grow up. Like, I feel really grateful to be sitting here with you in 2024 on the pod or on my podcast.
Proud of you working.
Thank you. I'm also doing something that it wasn't a dream. I said, when you met me, I didn't have the dream of having a podcast.
We should have been on that.
I know, but the point is, like, it tracks. Of course, this is what I'm doing, right? Like, if you know me, of like, this makes sense, but I'm grateful rather to have that conversation with someone who's known me for so long and knows and appreciates and honors the journey just like I do yours. And it's, for me, I'm always grateful for the people that remind me of how far I've come. And who keep reminding me of of how much further I have to go. And so I just love you. I honor you. I thank you. And I'm so grateful for being able to grow up together. Honestly, I feel like we've grown up together in LA, and it's a blessing.
And still growing up too.
Yeah. And I'm so proud of you. I'm proud of you, Lena.
I'm so proud of you, Ash. Like, we made it. We did it.
Yeah. We're doing it. Thank you for listening. This podcast is produced by LWC Studios for OWN. The show's executive producer is Juleka Lantigua. Our managing producer is Fatima El-Swifi. Shanice Tyndall is our lead producer. Jordan Thompson is our marketing coordinator. This episode was mixed by Trin Lightburn. Michelle Baker is our video editor. If you enjoyed listening to this episode, and we hope you did, please make sure to subscribe, leave a rating, and review wherever you listen to your podcast to ensure you hear the next one.